Hey everybody, Marcus Crawford here with the Idaho Quadcopter channel. Hey, I have another drone for you today from ZLL. The ZLL SG908 KUN or KUN. I'm not sure how they want you to pronounce that, but it's KUN. And in fact, I'll show you the little manual that comes with it here, which, by the way, is very little. If you can read the print on this, you're better than me. Even with cheaters, I struggle to read these little manuals. But in any case, let's move on to the drone. So I always appreciate how ZLL always puts their drones in a nice carrying case for you. That's just so handy, and you know, you get it on these bargain price drones. I don't know why, you know, when you buy a higher price drone, why they don't do that, but often you have to figure out how to keep everything together, and that's what it does for you. It allows you to keep the whole kit together. But let's take a look at this thing. So it's pretty simple. You can see the drone there, and then the remote controller, and underneath the RC is where all the accessories live. So so let me pull this thing out, and we can take a look at it. So here's the drone itself. As you can see, it still has the plastic on there. So I will pull that off, and we'll get to get a good look at the drone for the first time together here. If I can get a hold of it, that is. I knew I could do it. There we go. Boy, those arms were kind of tight, but anyway. So there's the drone. Let's unfold it all here. These arms are fairly tight to pull out, but okay, there we go. So that is the SG908. Very similar to the SG906. I see it left a little bit of glue there on the bottom. We'll get that cleaned off. You know, it's an attractive drone. It is about the same size as the SG906, maybe a little bit smaller. Very similar gimbal cover here. Let's see if we can get that off. Okay, I got the gimbal cover off there. Took just a second. The best way to do it was to press down. I was trying to pull out. You need to press that down. But anyway, it does have a 3-axis gimbal on here, which is what you want. Similar to the SG906 Pro and the SG906 Max. And in fact, the camera specifications seem to be fairly similar. In fact, let me read them off here, find them here. So the camera, they're calling it 4K, and I'm reading it off my notes here. But video resolution is 2048 by 1080. So I think most people will either call that 1080 or 2K, one or the other, whatever you want to call it. And it does have, it says SD mode is 1208 by 720, HD mode is 2048 by 1080. Well, there you go. And it shoots in 25 frames per second. And the bottom camera, which it does have down here, very tiny little camera you can see there for optical flow. And you can access that bottom camera through the app, which is kind of interesting, although, you know, the resolution is kind of so-so, little pinhole camera like that. But photo resolution, that's where they get their 4K. It's 4096 by 3072, so, and that's on the SD card. And the SD card slot, very similar to the SG906, is right there. And I haven't put a card in it yet, but I certainly will. Let's see, what else can we look at on this guy? So, you know, the bottom, we already talked about the optical flow sensor there. There's no sonic sensor or anything like that. I think it's an attractive drone. I like the styling of it. I think even a little better than the SG906. I kind of like this grill that they put at the top here. Looks pretty good. And, you know, they've got the name of the drone right here, the KUN. And I'd like to know the meaning of that. I assume there's probably some meaning to that word. I'm not sure what it is, though. And then, let's see, I guess the other thing we could look at is the battery. Battery is exactly the same as the SG906, 7.6 volts, 3400 milliamp. And this is the identical battery that fits in the SG906. So if you already have an SG906, I'm sure you could use the battery in this drone, and vice versa. And in fact, it goes in the back just the same way. So it'll be interesting to see what this guy brings to the table as far as any kind of improvement over the SG906. Like I said, it feels roughly about the same size, maybe a little bit smaller. Let me read the rest of the specifications for it here. Charge time, it says 2 hours. Trust me, it's all that. They're saying flying time of 28 minutes. Well, we all know how that works. If we get 16, 17, 18 minutes out, we'll be happy. Of course, it is brushless motors, 1700 kV motors. Let's see, and it is talking about the 3-axis stabilized gimbal, which we already knew. It is 5G Wi-Fi. Max transmission distance, it says, is 800 meters. And you know, my experience is that in a semi-urban environment, if you get 200 meters, you're doing pretty good. Now, I don't doubt that if you were out in the middle of nowhere, someplace where there was no Wi-Fi interference, you could probably get that 800 meters, but don't expect that if you're like in a city park or something like that. I wouldn't count on that. The RC, the remote controller, it says frequency is 2.4 G, and control distance, it says, and no occlusion, which it means nothing in the way, is 1200 meters. Again, I'm going to tell you to be happy with a couple of 100 meters. And a drone like this, that's all you really need anyway. You're not buying a drone like this because you expect to fly at long distance. Now, the downside of this remote control, and we'll talk about that in a second, is that it does use 4 AA batteries, as opposed to having an internal battery that you charge, lithium battery that you can charge externally. I think that's about it. We can talk about what's included in the package, and I'm not going to pull out all the accessories because you guys have seen all that kind of stuff before. Comes with its storage case. They call it a storage bag, whatever you want to call it. The drone, the remote control. This packing list says 3 times body battery, but I don't know what that means because mine only came with 1 battery. But it comes with a charging cable, a screwdriver, screws for the props. You have to assemble the props individually. It has a couple of spare propellers and the manual. Okay, so anybody that has flown an SG906 is familiar with this controller. This is the same controller that it was with the SG906 Pro and Pro 2, and I think even the original SG906. The Pro Max came with a more advanced controller, which was better. The one thing that I want to show you about this guy is you don't need to bother folding out these antennae because there's nothing in them. They're not doing anything. You don't see any wires going into those antennas, so they're just there for looks, so you might as well leave them folded down. You know, other than that, it works pretty good. I guess all you should show you, this is the battery compartment here that you put the 4 AAAs in. The biggest problem that I have with this controller is the gimbal sticks or the control sticks, whatever you want to call them. They're literally a force fit. And I'm going to see if I can show you here. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get them in and be able to show you. But you really have to push hard, and I'm always afraid that I'm going to damage the controller when I'm putting them in there. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do it on camera. Let me see if I can get the gimbal sticks in there. Okay, so you know, I'm just going to show you. I was pushing really hard, and you can see this guy is in there crooked, and they're just tough to get in here. You can see on the other side here, this one I was able to get it in, and you can see it's pushed clear down. But what's happened to me in the past before with and the thing is, how hard do you want to push? Because, you know, I'm always afraid I'm going to damage the controller by pushing so hard. And, you know, you twist and push them in, and there again, this guy is kind of crooked in there. I'm just telling you, I'm afraid to push any harder than I was pushing to get that guy in there, and it is not all the way in. And the problem with that is then you're flying the drone and it comes out on you. I've had that happen before. So that's just a bummer about this controller. There's a better way to do that. Either make them so that they screw in, or even just leave them in there permanently. I don't know. The thing is, you cannot fit this controller in the case with these left in there. Now I think you could, if you left the box of accessories out, I think you could just drop this thing in and leave the control sticks on. And I think that's what I would recommend is once you get these control sticks in there tight, and you can see that one is fairly tight on the in the bottom there, just leave them there, because you know, anybody that's flown the SG906 can tell you that it's just kind of a pain. But anyway, enough of that. Okay, let's take a look at the controls on the controller. This button right here is for changing the speed on the controller, and then also when you're first booting up the drone, you hold it down to engage a gyro calibration. This next button here on the if you're facing the controller, it would be on the left hand side, is the one touch return, and of course the big button in the middle here is the power button. Then this button right here, the next one over, it's going to be on the right hand side as you're looking at it, is the button that you push to record, and this button is the button that you push to take a picture. Also, this button does double duty. When you hold it down, it's the one that will start the gyro calibration on the drone. We'll fold out the antenna just for the fun of it. So right here, these two buttons, and it's going to be on the right hand side of the drone as it's facing you, is the up and down on the gimbal. And then on the other side here, the same buttons. This first one is the one touch takeoff. So once the motors are armed, hit that button to take off. And this one next to it is to put the drone into headless mode. And then to arm the motors on this guy, both sticks in. And I do want to point out that I did, I spent some time doing it. I have both of those gimbal sticks pushed in there, and I am just going to leave them in there and figure out some other way to store the accessories in the bag, because yeah, well, I just think once you get them in there, you're going to want to leave them in, because you don't want them coming out on you while you're flying the drone. I won't demonstrate it, but you can see these pull up high enough that you're going to get. I've got using iPhone Max, 11 Pro Max, and it fits in this controller just fine. So you've got plenty of room to get your mobile device in there. Okay, there it is, the SG908 KUN or KUN or KUN or however that's pronounced. And this was my solution for getting the RC in there without taking those gimbal sticks off. I just put all the accessories in that top part of the case, and it folds and zips up just fine. So that's probably the way to do that, and then you never have to take those gimbal sticks off again. But anyway, let's quit messing around. Let's get this drone out in the field and let's take it for a flight. Okay, I've got everything fired up here. I've got the XL Pro app going on my phone, but first what I did is I fired up the drone, then the controller. I did a gyro calibration by holding down the speed button for 5 seconds. As soon as we got a beep, we know that that's calibrated. Then the photography button to do the compass calibration, hold that down for 5 seconds. Got a beep, turned the drone flat, horizontal until we heard another beep, and then held the drone up, turned it again until we heard another beep, and we knew it's good to go. We have 17 satellites. It's showing here on the little display, the LCD display on the bottom of the controller here. And now this app, I'm looking at it. I did connect to the app via Wi-Fi on my phone, but everything is in Chinese, as you'll see, so I'm not sure. We're just going to have to punch buttons and see what happens. No, that's not it. Oh, now it's in English. Hey, good. Okay, that's good. So, yeah, at the very bottom, start, I believe, is what we're going to want to... yeah, and we've got FPV here, so that looks good. So, yeah, let's let's see if we can get the motors started here. Going to do that right now. Look at that, and the motor started up, and we should be able to push this this button right here for takeoff. And look at that, not too bad. It's doing a pretty good sink under the ground. It's not sure if it wants to be in the air or not. You guys are watching it bounce around. So much for optical flow. Okay. I don't know what that is. There we go. It seems to want to stay in the air now. I get to manually give it some throttle. Let's turn it around here. And we'll see if we can bring it in. I'm looking at the camera. The camera looks like it's pointed a little bit to the drone's right. But let's see if we can bring it in for a closer look. I'll be very careful here. Controls seem to be working okay, so that's not bad. And there you can see that gimbal in action, but again, the drone sunk as soon as I did that. So we'll give it some more throttle. Okay, let me see if we can start recording, and you know what? I'm gonna try it on the app here first. And yeah. So we're gonna allow it. Okay, so I do have a counter on the app, so we should be good. Let's see if we can do our usual droney here. So let me go reverse and up now. Reverse and up. And we're pointed really too high, so let me see if I can drop that camera down a little bit. Not sure which one of these. Yeah, that one. Oh, we're going the wrong way. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's go reversing up. And that the camera tilt is on the right hand side on the back of the controller here. Okay, let's continue our droney here. So reverse and up. And I'm seeing a lot of wiggle on the screen here, so that is never a good thing. And as soon as I let off the throttle, you see it bounce there. So unfortunately, that doesn't say a lot for that gimbal. Let's, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Just in case, you know, we had a problem when we were firing it up and the gimbal shut down for some reason, I'm going to bring it in. Let's try a return to home. You should do that anyway. And let's see. It says RTL, which I guess stands for return to landing, says on the screen. And I'm watching the drone, and it rose a little bit, and now it's returning. Kind of in fits and spurts, it's coming back to us. Let me see how far we can drop the camera down. Yeah, I don't seem to be able to bring the camera down much. Oh, there we go. I was going the wrong way. So that's as far down as the camera goes. And it's reorienting itself. And it's starting to come down. We're just going to let it land. It's off to my left, but not too bad. Fairly, you know, reasonable. Probably 3 or 4 feet off the pad. And there it's down. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to shut it down and fire it up again, and let's see if that helps us get a little better control of that gimbal. Okay, and you know what I didn't do is I did not stop recording, so no doubt I will have lost that. I'll have a corrupted file there, so it looks to me like we've started recording again, and we do have FPV, so let's go ahead and arm the motors. And the motors will not arm. Yeah, we may have to go through the whole rigmarole again. Let's try it one more time. Okay, we may have to calibrate again. Let me try that. Okay, we did this all on the app this time. And it seems to be, yeah, looks like we're good to go. Okay, so let's try and arm the motors again. Negative, not going to let us do it. Okay, let's turn this controller off and on and see if that helps us. Yeah, it's also, yeah, it's not connecting here, so. Okay, I'm just going to shut everything down and we're going to start over. I probably should have just kept flying. Okay, give me just a second. Okay, so I shut everything down, fired it all back up, and started the app again. So let's see what we got. And looks like we have FPV, so we should be good to go. Let's see if we can arm the motors. Hey, look at that. That did the trick. So let's hit that takeoff button on the back of the controller here, right here. And see if it does a better job this time. It's still sinking. It's better than last time though, when it was hitting the ground. Okay, let's turn it around here. Let's start recording again. So we are recording. And let's see, that gimbal looks okay, and I'm not seeing a bunch of jiggling around this time, so let me, I always forget which button to point up and down on that gimbal controller. Well, it doesn't seem to be doing anything now. There, and I just saw that gimbal jump around. Okay, let's try this one more time. There we go. Looks like we got it. So we're going to drop it down a little bit, and we're going to try to do another droney. So reverse and up now, reverse and up. And we're seeing that same jumbly video on the screen, so that's too bad. You know, I'd hope that this would be a little bit smoother. When I can see it on the FPV screen, that tells me that what we're going to see on the SD card is not going to be great. And then as I let off the pitch there, you could see it. You could see the drone. You know, that gimbal is moving around. So I guess what I'm going to tell you is on this drone, do not have an expectation of a very smooth video, because it's just not going to do it. But let's just fly it around a little bit. And I'm trying a yaw right now. And so I'm going to take you back out to that corner of the park where I fly often, fly out, and we'll kind of get that look at where I point out to the Costco. Let's see how far out there. We're out there over 100 meters, and I am not going to take the drone any further than that, because I have enough experience with these drones to know that that can be problematic. So there, we're picking up the gimbal a little bit so you can get a look. So you can compare that to what we've seen in the past. Now, what I will say is we do have a fairly flat horizon, which is always a good thing. And what's funny about this is I was actually trying to yaw the drone the other way, and that we saw that gimbal jerk. I saw that earlier when the drone was right in front of me. So clearly that gimbal needs some work. It's certainly not as smooth as what we see on the SG906. Let's grab some altitude here. And like I said, one of the things that you're going to see on this particular drone is that we won't have a lot of range, because there's really, the antenna in here are just really there for looks. We're about 140 meters now, and like I said, I'm a little bit reticent to get much further than that. And it's already showing our battery at half empty, so that again is another problem. So yeah, we just need to We just need to keep an eye on that. And potentially it could go into return to home or limited distance for us here. So we're out, according to the app here, 265 meters. I don't think it's that far out really, so I'm kind of questioning that distance. But let's see if we can bring it back over the top of us here. And I'm telling you, the yaw control, yeah, so yeah, we kind of lost control of the drone there for a second. Yeah, let me hit full forward here. Yeah, we're not getting any velocity, so yeah, I don't think we don't have control of the drone. So, and I was afraid of that. I was afraid that I would get out kind of beyond the drone's range at 268 meters. And of course they claim an 800 meter range. Let's see if we can get it to take a return to home. And it doesn't seem to be. Yeah, it's still just sitting there. Oh, there it took it. Okay, we finally got it to take that return to home. So I'm going to see if I can cancel that. And it did. Okay, that's good. Okay, so we're back in control range here. Yeah, and the distance shows better. That's about right. That distance was really, that was way, way off. So we've got an RC aircraft here, so I want to make sure I'm well above him. And I am going to come forward and come to our other side. So, kind of get the drone is it's moving. I've got eyes on it, and it is moving in fits and starts. I'll tell you, I'm almost afraid to mess with speed control here. I'll tell you what, guys, it's responding to controls, but not terribly precisely. And we're just in 50% speed. I'm not gonna put it in high speed mode. And you can see the battery is getting down to that last quarter. I'm gonna hit return to home. We sure didn't get the advertised flight time, and I had a full battery. So I'm gonna try return to home, and let's see what this guy does. Let's see how close it'll get to us here. It's coming down. It's going to be, oh, just a couple feet off of the pad, I believe. It's reorienting itself. So, yeah, this one, I'm just going to tell you the controls are best described as vague. Yeah, it's going to be just a few feet off of the pad, so that's not bad. And yeah, it looks like we caught that on camera. It's bouncing a little bit. It shut down. I'm going to remember to shut off recording this time. Let me get everything shut down, and we'll do a quick conclusion. Hey, okay, the SG908 KUN. Interesting product. It looks a lot like the SG906, but it doesn't fly like it. And listen, I'm just going to be honest with you. The controls were very, very imprecise. You know, I felt like I was hurting it more than I was flying it, to be honest with you. The GPS on it was good. We can't complain about that. And you saw that it landed within just a few feet of the landing pad where it took off. So that's always good. That gives you some confidence. The other thing is, I noticed on FPV that the video quality was not what it should be. It was shaking around. You know, your hope is with a 3-axis gimbal that you don't get that shaky video. This clearly was pretty shaky, at least on FPV. We'll look at the SD card, what comes off the SD card when I get home, but I don't know why it would be any different. So the video is, it just is what it is. And if you're okay with that kind of video, then you'd be okay with this drone. The battery, it's weird. I brought it in and did a return to home because it showed it was in that last quarter of the battery on the app. When I looked at the back of the 4 lights on the back of the battery, it still had 3 lights lit. Now, which one is correct, the app or the battery? I couldn't tell you, I don't know, but I wasn't going to take that chance, so we just brought it back and put it into return to home and landed it. Also, stability-wise, you saw my first takeoff, it was bouncing up and down. It wasn't toilet bowling, so it wasn't a compass issue. The optical flow, it just didn't quite know where it was at in space. We kind of overcame that. We tried that first return to home, it did okay. Again, I thought, well, I'll cycle it again and maybe that will cure that issue with the gimbal. It didn't, so clearly that's something that's endemic to the setup on this gimbal. But that said, this is available on TomTop. The folks at TomTop sent me this, and I will put a link. I think it's about 140 bucks or 130 bucks, something like that. But it is a GPS drone with a 3-axis gimbal. So I'll let you guys draw your conclusions from what you saw. And yeah, thank you. This is Marcus Crawford with the Idaho Quadcopter channel out. And if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Most of all, I really do appreciate you taking the time to look at this video, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, guys, see you later.